Greetings.
Hey there.
Hello.
Hey. Glad to see everyone here. Thank you for being here. I guess what I will do is some introducing here. Greetings again. Glad to see y'all are here. Thanks for being willing to share and kind of learn together. And I'm going to kind of restart what I was saying. We now have JoJo Mutton with us. JoJo and I were discussing one of her videos that she had posted on Facebook. And I had noticed that there were some sound technical issues that were going on. And we got to talking about it. The way my husband and I and one of our other current folks that is on here with us, Susan Martin, have been doing our videos is with pre-recorded sound. That's our background. My husband is a radio production guy, and we have a sound studio in our home. Oddly enough, we are also in the process of putting together a virtual studio where we can begin to film our productions within the comforts of and learning about lighting. So our sound tech issues, while we are of course interested in wanting to learn how to do live stuff with good video, have not been high on our needs list. But here we have JoJo, who is such an incredible puppeteer and is doing some incredible work and struggling with finding better sound quality. At this point, I'm going to point a finger at David Herrera. Thank you for joining us, David. David is a puppeteer that I have met through a different group, and I hold great I really think what David is doing is really stuff. He is a professional videographer, and he came into puppetry as a result of the pandemic and the limitations that were going on. And he has gone from baby steps to great big leaps and bounds. JoJo, I want to specifically introduce you to David because he was the first actual professional tech who said to me, here's what I have learned. And so I'm handing that baton to you, David, and allowing you to have that conversation with her at this point.
Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Just making sure. So JoJo, I don't have you on my screen. Let's see if I can find you. There you. Okay, I see you waving. Okay, I'm just gonna click on you. No, it's not letting me click. Okay, I'm just gonna assume that you can. Yeah, I see you waving. You're just this big. Okay. So
if you
yeah.
go to your view in the top right hand
button.
That can change things around for you. Go from gallery to speakers view. That will bring you up every time you're talking.
I really just want you to pop up and be. Okay, whatever. All right. So yeah. Whoops. Whoa. Okay. Am I still here? Good. I accidentally swept over and made my computer go to sleep for a second there. I'm a professional, can you tell? No, so yeah, my name is David Herrera. I go by the moniker Mr. Dave, and I have an online show called Fun Time with Mr. Dave, which is a mostly puppet, slightly live action music family kids show. It's being shown on a few different nonprofit stream areas. It's also all available on YouTube. A couple of local, well, not really local, but a couple of community cable stations are running the show now on a weekly basis as well, which is cool. It's nothing big, but it's a passion project of mine. And she's right, I did come about doing it because of the pandemic. before I was doing all of this, I was actually a children's performer, just singing, playing ukulele for kids at playgroups and doing story times and story hours at libraries and stuff like that. And with the onset of COVID-19, the various nonprofits that I was working for couldn't continue doing live performances for obvious reasons. And part of the way nonprofits get their money is through grant funding. And they have to meet certain requirements to keep their grant funding. And they, all the libraries and CFCE, which is Coordinating Families and Children's Education. It's a Massachusetts-based nonprofit for working with families, kids 0 to 8. They have to have a certain amount of educational programming in person or as close to in person as they could. So they approached me knowing that I had a videography background, but I hadn't done anything with it for years. And I said, yeah, I can make a show. And so I started out making this story time puppet show where I had a puppet made from a sock and a couple of ping pong balls I got at the Dollar Tree, and me changing costumes and making up a version of the Three Little Pigs. And it just kind of kept going from there. Like I said, I'm being streamed now in Canada. I'm being streamed in a few places in Massachusetts here. I've had some, I promote libraries. I've got Acklot Ukuleles as a sponsor now. I have a sponsor of YoYoSam.com, which is a skill toy and juggling equipment sales thing, because I do some of that. I've had special guests on the show from Canada, Hawaii, Argentina, just performers. No other puppeteers except for Eric Weiss. If any of you guys know Eric Weiss, he's a puppet builder, and he's also the president of the Western Massachusetts Puppetry Guild, which I am a member of. He was a guest on there, but he's the only other really puppet related person, which kind of bums me out, but I guess that's part of the reason why I'm here, is because us as puppeteers, we have trouble transitioning from the live action stuff to the video. I have had the distinct advantage, I suppose, that I've never actually done a live puppet performance aside from when I was a kid with my sister. You know, in random stores with puppets, we would attract crowds talking to each other with puppets and singing songs and stuff when we were in our early teens. But I've never actually done a live production. I came right into puppet work in the video realm, so that's where my focus was from the very beginning. Sound is a tricky beast. Sound is a very tricky beast. The pre-recorded track that you did it's a good idea for people who don't have access to the appropriate miking and soundproofing that you need for a live production. I was hampered by sound issues forever because at first I was in a library where there wasn't much in the way of, there was no carpeting and it was all flat surfaces, so sound reflection all over the place. And I was filming on a cell phone at the time, and it was just absolutely horrible. Then I got a small cardioid mic for my phone, a little Boya shotgun mic about this big. Actually, I should probably have it so I can show you. But for those of you who are starting out in the whole filming realm, it's an inexpensive and good way to get decent sound. It's because it's not a full supercardioid, it's like a partial, but it's designed for camera and cell phone work.
Did you just say it was a shotgun mic?
Yeah, like a mini shotgun mic. Yeah, we're going to go into that. There's all sorts of different types of mics for live recording that you can use for this. And I really should just find, oh, I think I can see it. Just give me 1 second.
Darlene,
can you hear me? Yes. Okay. So this is what I'm talking about. You guys have probably all seen these things on Amazon, and I'll take off the windscreen. But this is a small camera/cell phone version of what's called a shotgun mic. A shotgun mic is a hypercardioid microphone. For those of you who know microphones, that just means it's a heart-shaped pattern, but it's like super focused. This one isn't as focused as a true shotgun mic, but it's pretty darn good for $30 on Amazon. And what it does is, instead of like regular microphones and cell phone microphones and most camera microphones, it doesn't pick up everywhere. It's not an omni mic. This kind of picks up in a conical direction straight in front of it. So if you aim it at your mouth as a puppeteer, you're going to want to have it aimed at you, at your face. It's going to pick up mostly your voice and not so much around. So if this mic were pointed this way, so if I'm pointing it at myself like this, and if I pointed it at an angle, it won't pick me up nearly as much as it will pick up whatever the sound is that's coming over here. And yeah, these Boya microphones I've found are really good. If you can see that, BOYA. And yeah, and they're cheap, but they're decent. They're pretty darn good quality for what they are. And this little guy saved my butt. It runs.
Is it a USB cord?
No, it's a 1/4-inch cable, or it's like a microphone cable. So stereo microphone, and you can run it. Most cell phones, a cell phone jack, it'll run out of from a regular cell phone. If you're using a higher end camera, if you've got a mic jack in it, as long as it's not one of those tiny little ones that Panasonic likes to use sometimes, this will plug right into it with just a regular like headphone extension cable. It's not even specialized equipment. I had a 6-foot long cable for this thing, and I would prop it on stands down low below the camera so I could have it pointed at my face so I could pick up a nice clear sound while I was doing the puppeteer work over my head. So yeah, this is a really good cheap way to get started. It comes with a camera mount, this one in particular, and it's just a little springy shock mount, camera mount that just slides right on the top of your camera. Or if you've got a cell phone stand, one of those pinchy ones that has the slider on top, it'll fit in that nicely too.
So is this what you would recommend for live, or
for starting out? No, this is for recording. Like I said,
this is for recording.
Yeah, okay. If I'm talking right now, just getting your stuff out on the internet, cleanly sounding and as good as possible. I would not recommend this for a live production at all, because it's not super controlled. If you're doing a live production and you need to have yourself mic'd, use a headset mic. The quality isn't as clear or as clean, but it stays right on your face. A la Jim Henson, those headset mics, because if you've got a lot of choreography, if you're moving around, my production is fairly static. I don't move around a whole bunch with my characters because it's just me, and I've got like a bajillion characters. So there's a lot of cuts where, angled camera cut, where I'm editing and basically performing with myself. So something like this worked really well early on. If you can't do a pre-recorded thing, if your puppet lip syncing isn't comfortable, this is a good, cheap way to get decent sounding, decent quality sound. Another thing you're going to run into, and this is with any mic, whether you're using a headset or if you're using a cardioid mic or a hypercardioid mic, or if you're or anything, you're going to run into kind of an ambient hiss. And it's just like this room hiss that you get. Most editing software now has ways of getting rid of that. Even like if you're editing on iMovie, there's actually a noise reduction button. That's a selection you can click, and then you can choose how much you want to reduce. Too much and your voice starts sounding a little robotic. Not enough and you get a lot of hiss. This mic will give you more hiss than a more expensive microphone, but it's once you've reduced that hiss in your editing program, it's actually a really solid, cheap start to good sound quality. Moving on.
Dave,
Next,
is there a particular headset mic that you would suggest?
I have not explored too awful much into the headset. I have a cheapo I bought on Amazon, which is okay, but this yielded better sound initially. It was good for when I had a lot of movement, moving around, and especially early on when I was trying to, when I didn't have the capabilities that I have now, it was convenient to be able to just have it there and move around with a wireless headset. But it's just not as good a sound, and the batteries die really quickly. And you guys know these shoots can take hours and hours. So you get charging it, stopping, having to stop production. It was a hassle. If you've got a set production that you're going to bang 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 and it's done, or you're doing a one shot thing where you're not doing any editing afterward, you're not doing multiple takes, you're not switching back and forth between characters, then a headset mic is good, because then you're just throwing it on, you're doing essentially your performance in front of a camera and then back, and then you don't have to worry about it. But the battery life on those things isn't good enough for static shooting like what I do. And I'm going to kind of come at it from an angle, from that point of view, because I think that's because we're talking specifically about getting your show on the internet available to watch. Okay, so yeah, that's my focus. Okay, next up, which is, unfortunately I don't have it with me, but it's something I discovered from my sister. Well, no, I discovered it from this mic first. This is a Blue Yeti mic, and it's actually a widely used recording microphone for voice actors and musicians alike. I use it for recording all the time. You're listening to it on me now. I mean, yeah, it's filtered through the Zoom, but it's a good mic, very good selection. This isn't great for recording for a show. It can be, but because of the way it's set up, it's not super flexible for recording it in front of a camera. However, the Snowball Yeti mic, which my sister actually has one, is a really good mic that is pretty good cardioid, excellent sound quality, and that's a USB mic that you can plug right into your computer. So if you're filming from your laptop, something like this is actually ideal. If you're filming with a camera, not so much, because it's, like I said, it's a USB input. Now, the Yeti Pro also has an XLR output. This one does not. So that would be an option, but that's not a cheap microphone. That's I think that retails close to $300. That is not a cheap mic. But that is an option if you're filming from, say, a tablet or a laptop. It's a really good choice. The Yeti Snowball is a really good one. And I forget, they're I know you can get them used for $35, $40, something on Facebook Marketplace and stuff like that. I don't remember how much they cost full price. But that's another fairly inexpensive, good quality method if you're not filming from a camera, if you're using a tablet with a USB input or a laptop. Back to using cameras, I'll actually go grab my actual shotgun mic so you can see that. Give me 1 second.
I'm drooling over his studio.
It's been very interesting.
I should have been a little better prepared. I was running a little late behind today. I've got a salad over here that I was in the middle of eating. Oh no, it's almost time. So this is a shotgun mic. It's actually also made by Boya, which I'm just very impressed by this company. I really like this company. This is an XLR input. For those of you who know what that is, it just, left, right, ground. It's like a regular microphone cable. I have this run from an XLR to headphone style jack to my camera. If you can see, I can't see myself. If you look over there, if you can see, can you guys see the camera there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is Canon T5i. And I use that as my primary camera for all of my shoots. And I just run this from the XLR cable. It's XLR male to headphone jack stereo male right into that, right from that camera. So it records everything right to the SD. I don't know if this would work.
Dave, when you say headphone jack, are you talking about a 1/4-inch jack or an 1/8-inch jack?
Eighth inch stereo.
A stereo mini plug.
Yes. Yeah. Here, I'll just.
Oh, you haven't got geeky on me. That is so cool.
I'll just grab the cable. Hang on.
see instruments on his staging area too. For all of you guys listening while Dave is away, he is an incredible ukulele player. We'll see if we can prompt him.
Okay, so this is the cable I use, and it's just a regular microphone cable. It's an XLR cable that I have an adapter for. So it's just an XLR cable, one on both male and female. And then I have this XLR to 1/8" adapter, which little cable, which then runs to this little guy here. But any combination of those things where it goes XLR to 1/8" jack, which, like I said, it's like a little stereo headphone jack, will work for this particular mic. I spent a little over $100 on this mic. It can be phantom powered, which means if you're running it through something like a preamp, like a Scarlett or what have you, it will actually power the microphone. But plugged into a camera, it doesn't do that. And it requires a AA battery in the casing. And do not get a cheap AA battery for this. I made the mistake of just getting a regular run-of-the-mill AA battery at first, and it died fast. I got the super expensive, like $8 for 4 Duracells, and it has been beautiful since then. But this is a hypercardioid microphone. And what that means is it is super, super focused, like a shotgun, right in front. That's why they call them shotgun mics. And this is the retail version of what they use in professional live recording. You know, you ever seen the dangling with the big windscreens on them that look like this? That's one of these guys, and they point these, the boom operator points these right at the face of whoever's talking, and it gives you that nice, crisp, clear sound. That's what this is. Now, that doesn't mean
How do you manage it yourself?
I have it. I if you can look over there, I'll move my Yeti. I have a boom mic with the, and I don't know if you can see it, it's the shock mount that came with this, and it's just attached to a regular old boom mic.
So Dave, when you are doing your action, are you utilizing all of your staging space, moving back and forth with just this one microphone?
No, I could do that if I had somebody to operate a boom for me.
Okay.
But because it's just me, I do mostly cuts where I'll angle this out where I know my mouth is going to be if I'm standing. If I'm down doing puppet work, I actually lower the boom and I have it down and angled low so it's not in shot. And then I just kind of change the camera angles. And I don't know if we were supposed to be getting into camera work or not, but we can a little bit if you want to, but I thought this was primarily audio.
Well, I tell you what, this time around, let's keep it at audio since that's what the call to was for, but sure would like to and would appreciate picking your brain more perhaps in the future. Okay.
So yeah, if you are filming and you've got the budget and, you know, like I use the really nice high definition cameras for my show now. If you're going from like a cell phone or a little point and shoot or what have you, and the quality isn't as good, then this isn't a necessary investment. You want the audio to match the video. If you're filming from good cameras, you're going to want a good mic. That's really it. You really get what you pay for.
Do you feel that you had to step up to the plate when you went into actual production that is being shown, you know, in a general populace, that you're off YouTube in order for your production to go to, you know, a TV station in Canada?
Yeah,
that's when you made that move into more expensive equipment?
Well, no, I very gradually started upgrading my equipment as I could, because the goal was always to have something as high production as I could. I never wanted to just stay with the cell phone on the stand with the little tiny square LED light and my sock puppet. I always wanted to grow, and I had the training to do it. So I knew, I just started buying equipment, and most everything is secondhand. All of my cameras I think the most I paid for any one of the cameras was $300, and most all these cameras, even secondhand, can run. If you well, not secondhand, but I mean, eh, buy if you tried to buy the equivalent of them new, you'd be spending $800, $900 on them.
Yeah.
They are older ones, but because I don't use them for photos, and they're primarily photo cameras, I get them from photographers because, oh, this has a million shutter counts on it, so I'm going to sell it really cheap. And I'm like, I'm using it for video. The shutter doesn't matter. So I end up getting them super duper cheap.
Okay.
Like that T5i I paid $200 for because it came from a photographer who's like, yeah, I've been using this for years. It's a great camera, but the shutter count's too high and I just upgraded. Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah,
If you look hard enough, you can find this. Well, not even hard. If you just look, you can find the equipment you need to upgrade your production really cheap. This is a almost $250 microphone new. I got it for $85 because it was out of box. Somebody had a trade in at a music shop right downtown near my studio. He's like, oh yeah, so I'd say for $85. I don't have a box. I'm like, all right, I'll take it. Best mic I've ever owned for this kind of thing. I use it for recording all the time. I love it.
So, as an artist, do you feel that the move to video, of course, it's a more natural move for you than perhaps some of us, but the move to video is one that you're going to continue to pursue pretty almost exclusively, or do you tend to want to try to do that and go back to doing your live performance as well?
Well, my live performances were always just music. I like I said, I never did any puppet live performances. I'm actually currently in the works of designing a puppet live production, but not like I'm behind a thing. I mean, like I've got
puppeteers
and interacting with me doing a live thing to a pre-recorded track.
Yeah,
like what you'd see at like Disney,
yeah.
that kind of thing. I'm working on something like that right now, where everything except me is pre-recorded, and so other puppeteers can do the puppeting if they need to.
Yeah.
But that's just something that like it's in the works. But as for going back to a live performance type thing, that's secondary for me. I've always wanted to do the Sesame Street, the Fraggle Rock, the Muppet Show. That's always been like that's my dream place. And so like being able to do this has been fantastic, and it's been a dream. The fact that I do this and I get paid to do this now is just amazing.
Well, it's very inspirational to many of us on many levels, Dave. You know, we're all trying to express ourselves, and being able to go to that level of making a living is extra special. Don't mind saying that. I'm going to kind of open up the floor at this point. Y'all, if you want to say something, you want to be part of the discussion, just unmute your mic. I'm not going to call on anybody or anything. This is catch as catch can, but I'd like to hear some comments about what we've learned so far.
Mr. David, I've been meaning to ask you a question. What was your first experience in puppetry? Like, what kind of shows did you grow up with as a child?
Well, as my mother likes to say, my very first toy was a puppet. I as a little baby in a crib, my mother had a puppet of the Royal Guard outside of Buckingham Palace. It was just a little hand puppet, this kind of thing. It had like felt glued onto it. It was simple thing, and she'd put it on my thing. I grew up in the mid to late 80s, early 90s. I cut my teeth on Fraggle Rock, Sesame Street, The Muppet Show, and the mask puppet shows like the old Sharon Lewis and Bram Elephant Show, which featured people wearing suits doing puppeteer in suit work, like Gorgs or Big Bird, what have you, as an elephant and other characters. So it's hard to pinpoint what my very first experience with puppetry is, because I have not had a point in my life that has not been fully and completely steeped in puppets. And it's mind-boggling that it took me so long to get into puppeteering as a, performance art and a career, because I've always done it. I've always done it. I've always had tons of puppets. Actually, one of my favorite memories is back in the dark ages when I was in high school. I was also in chorus and band, and we went to Florida. We flew to Florida on a plane for a competition down there. And on the way back, when I was down there, I bought a genie puppet from the Aladdin. It was, one of the big things, like the size of a small child. Yeah, I spent the money that I had on that and food, and that was all I paid for down there. And on the way back, we were flying and there was turbulence. Like, there was a lot of turbulence. It was an evening flight, and there was this probably 4 or 5-year-old girl sitting in the row in front of me, and she was just screaming and crying, terrified. And her mother was trying to calm her down, but sometimes it's hard with that. So I grabbed, because Jeannie was with me. I couldn't put it in the overhead. I had to just carry the thing with me. So I just grabbed Jeannie and I leaned over and I started to do this kind of faux Kermit voice thing, because I was like, what was I, 14? Yeah, I was 14 at the time. So I hadn't expanded my vocal repertoire very much, but I grabbed it and I just started talking to her and saying hi. And she just immediately just calmed down and started to smile. And for a good 20 minutes, I was just with my puppet peeking through her chairs, talking to her. And it was just a really, really cool experience. At the end, she's like, "You sounded kind of like Ernie." I'm like, "I'm sorry, I'm Jeannie, but I'm trying." And yeah, it was a really cool experience, and it really showed me the power of what we do. But again, I have no point where I can say, yeah, this is when it started, because it's always been there.
Hey, David, I was going to ask what kind of like editing packages are you using?
Okay. Well, I started with Viva Video because I was on a cell phone. And that's actually, oh, sorry about that. I got to turn off my Dalek there. I have 4 children. I have to have a very loud, obnoxious sound or I don't hear it, but I'm going to put that on quiet now. Okay. Sorry about that. I was using Viva Video, which the free version of it only lets you edit up to 5 minutes. But out of all the phone editing software and tablet editing software, I found it's really the best one unless you're working with an iPhone, which I did not have. The iMovie phone app is actually really good. So if you're filming on an iPhone, iMovie on the phone is pretty darn good. If we're talking about laptop editing, I have 0 experience with PC laptop editing. I don't know the programming. I can't tell you. I have a MacBook, and I strongly recommend that if you're into filming, that you get a MacBook, even if it's an older one, because iMovie, for a free base program that comes with the computer, is really good. It's really good. And I was using that for a long while, up until probably 2 months ago, when I finally bit the bullet and I bought Final Cut Pro. I was shocked at how similar it was to iMovie. I don't know if, I know Apple owns both. I don't know if they made iMovie first and Final Cut Pro afterward, or vice versa, and tried to make them so they were very similar. But if you start with iMovie, which is the free program, nice Gretsch in the background, by the way. The Gretsch with the Bigsby, sweet. Sorry, distracted. Pretty.
More geeking.
Yes. But yeah, iMovie's it's the best editing software on the market for a laptop that you don't have to pay for. If you want to drop the $300 and something on Final Cut, there is no better retail-based editing software out there. It shakes hands with all the Adobe effects stuff, which I don't really use, but I know it does. It has so much capability to it without, with iMovie, a lot of it's like plug and play. You drag an effect over and there it is, or you drag a text over and there it is, and you can't really adjust it. Final Cut Pro, those things are still there, but they are a lot more malleable. You can change a lot more into it. There's a reason why the movie and film industry uses Final Cut Pro as their editing software. It's a very expensive leap, but it's definitely worth the money if that's where you are. But if you're not at that point, iMovie on a secondhand laptop or iBook or iMac or what have you, it's really good, really, really good. And there are but you got to know the trick to render in the high def if you're doing that. But we can talk about that another time. There are lots of tricks that you have to know.
I'm gonna bring Darlene into the conversation a little bit. She's another one of our VPR people, and she's been doing regular filming and posting. And Darlene, you always seem to have really good sound quality with your live stuff. I know that you're not a big tech person like I'm not, but it seems to me you said you have somebody who is doing your videography for you.
Yeah, Teresa Casciato. Actually, Tom Sorver knows her too. She's here in Pittsburgh, and I usually use her to video my shows. If I'm doing something just by myself, then I set up my phone and I film myself. But if I'm doing something for somebody else, or if there's a group of people performing, then I get somebody to come and video it for me.
When you're doing stuff, when you're making a video by yourself, do you use any kind of enhanced microphone or anything?
No, I just use my phone and speak up.
Well, you're very good at it.
Thanks. It takes practice. A lot of times it takes several takes to get it just right. Like if I want to record like a 5-minute skit, it usually takes me about an hour by the time I set it up and go through a few takes. Oh, I've messed that up. I'll have to do it again. So it might take me an hour to get a really good take of it. But
so you're not going back in and editing your stuff into a single performance. You're just doing take after take until you get it right.
Yeah. Kind of the hard way to do it, I guess. But if you're not very skilled at editing, that's what you do.
I hear you talking. I sure do. Well, what you're doing is working, by the way. I've never noticed you having a problem with sound, so that's why I was interested in your take on it too. Joe, did you have any other questions you wanted to ask either Dave or Darlene?
Yeah, well, now I'm really interested in all those little tips and techniques, those little tricks you said that you need to. But I guess that's for another time, maybe.
For iMovie?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, I was curious because I've been using my iPhone to do all of my, my puppet videos. And yeah, what should I be doing to the final to make it look good, I guess, if there's some trick.
Depending on...
I don't know if that's the same from the phone or not.
Well, it is. It really is. With if we're going from a phone perspective, so much with phone is lighting and angle. And have you ever seen the old any old monster movies or kaiju based television shows like Power Rangers or what have you, where the person in the suit looks gigantic? It's all about angle. The angle is down, low, and up. With puppets, it's really easy to make them look too small or too big. So framing your shot, making sure your angle is framing it, taking the time to make sure it's framed the way to look, and just look at it and see if that's what you want it to be. You don't want to have too much overhead space because that makes everybody feel small, unless that's what you're going for. If you're doing anything where you've got a human being and a puppet, because the human being is naturally so much bigger than the puppet, you want to have the headspace in the puppet to make it feel right. However, if it's like a tight conversation, you want to make sure that the puppet fills up most of that space. And that goes for camera work too, not just cell phone. Lighting is a big deal. It makes well, I'll show you right now what I'm talking about. I can show you right now. I actually have a light on me right now to make it so I'm not like horribly, but I'll show you the difference. Now this is really bad lighting. And I'm dark and grainy, and I'm backlit back there. Unless you're going for kind of a creepy dark feel or something like that, you don't want to be backlit. You want to stay front lit. So I just have a.
What light is that?
This is a turn it back on. It's the same kind of lights I'm using over here. I'll just grab this one. This is just it's an LED bulb that I got at Walmart. It's a 70-watt LED daylight bulb, because it's got a different light spectrum. It looks a little more natural than just a regular bulb, less yellow and not as blue as a regular LED. It's kind of warm. And this is what's called a diffuser umbrella. And it's translucent. And it's just like the name suggests, the light hits it and it diffuses through and it softens it. So it's not so harsh, doesn't create a lot of shadows. And it's just, if you're doing something like this, it's a really good way to just make it so, I mean, you can see the top of my head's a little shiny over here, but that's because the light's right there and I have no hair. But this light kit, $150 on Amazon. And it comes with the one I got, it came with the black screen and a green screen backdrop, which I don't really use too much, but it comes with 2 stands with these diffuser umbrellas, and then 2 stands with these reflector umbrellas, which also have light box options. This is a reflector umbrella, and it's like at the inside of a flashlight. It grabs the ambient light and bounces it forward and focuses it. This is a really good solid front light. So you'd want to have this like dead on your subject, in a puppet's case right in front of the puppet. And that gives you that main fresh light. These ones also come with a diffuser box, which is you just put it over it and it does the same thing this one does, but a brighter, more intense light, which is good for lighting backdrops, which I don't know if you can see back there. I've got one pointed at the wall of my set, and it's just lighting up that with the light box on at the diffuser to give it a soft light, which reduces the shadows that the main lights give from your subject. So you don't get those weird cross shadow things in the back, that those backlights diffuse it. We've definitely gone into lighting techniques. But yeah, it's
the high def. Sorry, don't forget to go back to the high def trick.
Yeah, well, the high definition trick on iMovie is a laptop thing or a computer thing. It's not on iMovie.
Oh, it's not on the phone. Okay.
I don't believe it is. If we're talking about on iMovie, the laptop, and it might be, I don't know. I don't have a whole bunch of experience with it.
Right.
With iMovie, it's this weird thing where the first clip you put on your editing line has to be a high definition clip. So if you want to render in 1080p, your clip has to be a high definition photo or a video that was recorded in 1080p. And then you go and check your settings off it'll be on the right hand side. It gives you options for I think it just says options, and it's a drop down menu, and resolution's one of them, and then you can select 1080p and save it that way, and you can continue to edit and save in 1080p. Otherwise it defaults to 780, which is technically high def, but it's not as nice. It looks great on a phone, it looks good on a laptop, but if you're watching it on a television or anything, which a lot of people who use YouTube nowadays do, it doesn't look nearly as nice. But yeah, it's putting that clip there first and saving your project with that clip there in the beginning, and you can go back and delete it. Or if what you're creating is already filmed in 1080, like from my cameras, then if that's all you're using, then it should be an option automatically, but you have to select it. If you don't select it, it defaults to 780. Which I found annoying, but once I got used to that, it was like, okay, just make sure it was there, and I do it. And then everything I was shooting was in 1080p. If you're filming from a cell phone, I'm not sure I think the newest iPhones can shoot in 1080 and 4K, but I don't know about the editing. I don't know about the iMovie on the phone, if they can do it. That's something you'll have to kind of dig in. There's a wealth of information on the internet. And that's how I found out about iMovie, because I was getting so mad that I finally got a good camera. I want to render in high def and I can't render. So I had to do some research, but it was well worth the effort there.
Cool. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Okay, well, wow, this is like an overwhelmingly wonderful basket full of info and food for thought. Dave, thank you so much for sharing all that with us.
Thank you. What was where can we see your show again? Tell us where we can see your show.
If you go to funtimewithmrdave.com, the links to the latest shows and all the stuff that I'm doing is right there. But I've also got a YouTube channel. But you've got to search Mr. Dave with an exclamation mark. And then you'll see me. Fedora and a pink bow tie. That's
Great.
Oh, I got to tell you guys, his stuff is absolutely wonderful, and adorable puppets, particularly Percy. He is always my favorite. And your music making is also something that makes you so uniquely wonderful, Dave.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time today and all your expertise. Darlene, thank you for being here too and sharing. I really appreciate it.
Welcome.
Thank everyone for dropping in. This has been good. And if you all would like to do this again, you let me know. We'll find a topic that'll work and dive into the next set of questions that we can. Thank you again.
Excellent.
Y'all enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Hey.
Thank you, guys.
you.
Hey.
Thank you.
This is always the weirdest part where I can't find the leave meeting. We're all trying to be polite to one another still, and
We're just standing here doing this the whole time.
Don't
waiting.
scratch where it itches. Just don't. You know. Dave, thank you so much.
Oh, I'm happy to. I don't know if now that we're done, I don't know if you wanted to, if anybody wanted to ask me anything else. I don't have anything else to do other than eat my salad, so I'm good.
Nick, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I actually had one question in mind when you mentioned kaiju with Power Rangers and other examples, and especially the Muppets. And first off, let me introduce myself by saying I'm Nick Forte. I'm a senior in communications and a minor, or senior in broadcast communications and a minor in film and entertainment. And I'm also the latest intern for Mr. and Mrs. Sherman over here.
Nice.
And I actually had a quick, sorry. Had a lot going through my mind after all this because I've been taking notes, so you might have noticed I've been going in and out of the screen. But first off, let me start by saying I'm actually very much relieved, because apparently more pros and more experts use more mobile or Mac devices than I thought, because I thought most everybody used like high-end PC stuff, but turns out it can actually be a lot more affordable and relatable than I thought. And that actually puts me at ease, because I know I'm always looking for something that's more affordable or cost efficient. I don't mind breaking bank if I need to, but if I can do the most with the least, then I'm all for that option.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, definitely. The laptop that I'm talking to you on now, I got that secondhand, very cheap. I'm a father of four. I'm a single father of four kids. So I have to be super careful and super thrifty about this stuff, but I still want to make everything, as high quality as I can. So yeah, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, your friends who also do this stuff. Oh yeah, I'm upgrading my computer. Do you want this one? That's how I got the laptop. I mean, I used my tax money to buy a nice iMac and Final Cut Pro now, but I still use this one a lot when I'm here at the studio for, quick editing. I also use it a lot for any of the pre-recorded voice acting stuff that I do for the show. Or I also do a lot of the music stuff on this still. So it's an older laptop, but it works great. And it was dirt cheap. Like I said, my cameras, I got them all second, third, some of them fourth hand, cheap. Yeah, you don't need to spend money if you know the look. That trick with photographers, man, that's your best bet. Find a photographer with an old camera, because they're like, yeah, I don't want it anymore. I want it for video. But you got to make sure it's got the input though. Not all of them, not all the digital cameras that can do video have the audio input. That I found out the hard way. You want to have that input so you can use an external mic, because otherwise sound not great.
Or you go pre-recorded.
Yeah, I've actually gone pre-recorded for my shows now because it's gotten so involved and going back and forth from it doesn't the audio wasn't matching up. So now my show is I start the show as a human and then I magically go into the puppet world, and I have a puppet me now that I built.
Can I see it?
Oh yeah, sure. Hang on. I'll grab him. He's right over here.
When you get a chance, check out his stuff on YouTube. It's good. It's good kids stuff.
Oh, I understand. I looked him up online, or as he was mentioning where to go, and I saw what he meant about the fedora and the bow tie. It's cute.
Yep.
So yeah, this is Puppet Me.
Oh my god!
And you made him yourself?
Yeah, I built him myself. I got some of the material from Walmart. Some of the material is from Puppet Pelts. The eyes in particular. The beard is actually that thick yarn. It's like the super duper thick yarn that they sell at Walmart. The bow tie is just a regular clip-on bow tie. The shirt is 3T.
How did you apply the beard?
Hot glue. I love hot glue. Hot glue and sewing.
You know it can pop in temperature change, right?
Oh, I know. Luckily, I live in Western Massachusetts where it's always kind of cold.
Yeah.
Even when it's hot, it's cold.
Oh, Dave, he's great.
Oh, thank you.
Let me see the back of him. Yeah. Do you have rods for the arms? The
I do. I just don't know where I put them. So the hands, the noodle arms.
It's cute.
I gotta tell you, I have stumbled into a puppeteering workshop, and I think I saw the Facebook post for it coming up to apply for from the West Mass Puppet Group. Interesting guy from Poland who's teaching it, and I can't remember his name. Jacek is the first name. Oh my gosh, the stuff I'm learning with this thing.
Oh, good.
And there's a whole artistry to tabletop puppetry that I didn't realize was there. And when you and I have a chance, I would love to share some of this stuff because there is interesting mechanics you can add to your puppets that can add to the viability of their movements and stuff like that this guy is teaching me about. And I'm just like, oh, wow. Whew, another level. Okay, here we go.
Oh, yeah. There's so much you can do. I like, the mechanics of it. I mean, it adds weight to the puppet head, but there's just something simple though. Like all of my puppets that I build have a soft upper palate. The bottom is stiff for my thumb, but for the top is soft, so I can and that kind of thing, and just add that extra level of facial expression with just having a soft upper palate. So
tell me about the eyes. You mentioned they were kind of special.
Yeah, these eyes, I bought a bag of these eyes at Puppet Pelts through them. They're the same eyes I use on Percy, and that's how I knew about them.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, all my puppets are having these eyes from now on. And you push them through, and they've got a snap-on back, and then the pupils are stick-on felt pupils, but it's like it's really high-quality stuff.
So if you want to, you could go ahead and remove it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't want to.
Yeah. And did you use a pattern for the puppet?
Yes, but the pattern itself is actually something I devised through trial and error. It's kind of like I'm making a yarmulke out of foam for the top of the head, and then I lay out the pattern. It looks kind of like 4 rounded pyramids. I lay the felt over it, and I kind of glue the not felt, fleece. I glue the fleece to that, trim it to the cutout foam, and then I glue it together, and then I go back and I hand stitch that seam up to clean it up. And then the mouth, You can see, if you look, you can see the stitch here.
Yeah.
Now the mouth is a similar thing underneath here, but it only goes to about here, and then it's just kind of loose, and it doesn't go around the back. Yeah.
Nice. Nice job, dude. Really
Thank
good.
you.
Impressive.
Yes. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm very proud of him.
You
Percy
set
was-
high bar, man.
I try.
Most definitely.
I try. But I set the bar for myself though. Growing up watching the Hensons,
Yeah.
and classic Henson was just insane. So like I went into doing this puppet stuff going, I've got to be that. I've got to be my version of that quality. So yeah, that and my own personal OCD-ness, it just never stops. Some of us never grow up. I mean, I'm 40 and I play with puppets.
63 and doing the same. I win.
Yeah.
I win?
I think we both win, really. I don't think that's not a losing situation where we're both playing with puppets. No, I think that's a win-win-win-win-win.
Okay, I'll take it.
I'm 23 over here, but I will defend people in that line of work and basically animation and anything that people try to call kid-friendly or for kids. Because my parents, I love them both dearly, but they were both born in the 50s. My mom in 59, my dad in 56. And from time to time, they'll be like, if it's like kid animation, they'll be like, oh, this is for kids, or oh, if it's Disney, it's for kids. And I'm like, yeah, and who do you think made them? Created them.
Seriously, all you have to do is take 5 seconds to look at all those names at the end of the credits. All of the names, people who are professionally doing kid stuff.
Most definitely.
It's fantastic. There's no such thing as kid stuff. It's just, you have an imagination or you refuse to have an imagination. That's
it's
it.
Storytelling. And it's being able to set aside your disbelief and go for the ride.
Exactly. I mean, you guys have been talking to me. I'm a puppet. You've been talking to me this whole time. Fully serious conversation, and you're just looking at me. But I'm the puppet.
While I'm thinking about it, I've been trying to see how I can shoehorn this in. But as a film minor, and I've seen a variety of movies and different genres: action, comedy, sci-fi, horror. And as a professional puppeteer like yourself, or I mean, you are. I'm not. I'm hoping to learn, but yeah. I've been just curious. This is kind of more of an opinionated question, but what would you say is your favorite use of puppetry in film? Like if you had to pick one, like Labyrinth, the Muppets movies, Star Wars, of course, Dark Crystal, most definitely.
Yeah, all Henson. Yeah, it cannot be understated how important it is and has been to the film industry since its inception. I mean, even early stop motion animation is considered a form of puppetry. So, okay, I'm going to put him down. My arms getting tired. Okay, yeah. I mean, model work, miniature work is puppetry. And animatics and robotics and all that—that's all puppetry.
Godzilla.
Gojira. That's mask style puppetry into animatronics and now into CGI. And CGI is actually a form of puppetry. It's taking something that's inanimate and making it look like it's animate. That's what animation is. It's just a two-dimensional form of puppetry. So to say it's ridiculous how important it is, and we would not have the film industry that we have now if it wasn't for puppetry. We would not at all. I mean, let's say all the puppetry work that was in the Jurassic Park films, the Star Wars films, I mean, even the stuff that you don't see on camera, where it's a CGI is added later. A lot of the times, the actors, especially if they're working with a creature or what have you, if they're not doing a mocap thing, it's someone with there's a dinosaur puppet head and it's going at them. So they have something to react to. And that's puppetry. Even if it's replaced later on, it's still puppetry. We could not have what we have today if it wasn't for puppetry. It's everywhere. If you look, it's absolutely everywhere.
Well, and it has been as an entertainment, as a storytelling way of expressing. I mean, it's been around for hundreds, if not thousands of years. I was amazed at the rich history that Europe has of puppetry as I have started to explore this. And for them, for the Europeans, puppetry is for everyone, not just kids, because they've grown up with it. They have colleges where you learn to be a puppet person, you know, a puppeteer. For America, a lot of it, most of it is based on, you know, the Muppets and Sesame Street and, you know, all those spin-offs and that sort of thing. But we did have a good history, including, you know, Sherry Lewis and Lamb Chop and that sort
Punch
of
and
thing.
Judy, Howdy Doody.
Right, sure. But I think now there's a kind of an upsurge of understanding that puppetry isn't just for kids, because we've got the CGI, because we have Labyrinth and, you know, those sorts of things. We can take it to a level where it can be explored in an adult fashion.
That just reminded me of another really good example that I have a fond memory of because I saw them on stage when I was a kid. The BBC Traveling Dinosaur Show, the ones where like the big harness and some of the puppets are animatronic operated by people, and you can see their legs coming out of the raptor's legs, and then others are massive built to scale puppets that are like puppet robot hybrids.
Did you know that there was a movie a few years back called War Horse, and they turned it into a Broadway musical? And there is a puppet, an onstage puppet, that is puppeteered by 3 separate puppeteers. 2 inside the body of the horse, and 1 who manages the horse's head, looks like a handler to the horse. You must go to YouTube. You must look this up. It is the most incredible puppeteering you will ever witness. You know, the big onstage puppeteering is a whole different story.
It really is. Well, look at the Lion King production.
Yeah, exactly.
So much of that was puppet work, full body puppet work, extended body puppet work. Cirque du Soleil, the stuff that they do, it's mind-boggling. It's absolutely mind-boggling and beautiful and wonderful. This little tiny itty-bitty corner of that I, you know, inhabit in the puppet world is just such a minuscule speck of what is out there. And it's such an honor to be able to say that I'm a part of that and try to, you know, do my best to, you know, portray it the best I can. It's one of the reasons I've learned how to do all this stuff.
That's the art of it, my friend.
Yeah.
That's the art of it. And that's the heart and soul of it, too.